$30 million of savings is very much interesting to me.
All right. Excellent. And Simona?
I'm Simona Rosso. I'm the strategy manager on Mike's team, and I work with the ServiceNow team to develop and bring in products into ServiceNow.
Okay, wonderful. Sorry, hand it back to you, Anton.
Should we get introduced?
Yeah, let's introduce ourselves. Go on.
Quickly. Right, okay. Well, I'll start quickly and ask my question later. I'm Anton Baturan. I head the experience design practice for NES, obviously working hand-in-hand with the rest of the team with Lenu.
Okay. Hi, I'm Marion, and I'm a UX researcher in the experience design team here in London.
Yeah. And then, Mark here. I'm Chief Digital Officer at NES. We spoke initially a while back. But yeah, we're all situated, co-located together, and we're all going to be part of this adventure with you. So that's probably it. And you'll learn about the way we think about the world as we ask these questions. Shall we just dive in, Sanjay, or do we need a bit of Liam intro? Right, okay.
Please, no, let's dive in. We've got 22 minutes to get you guys everything you need. So let's jump in.
So let's start with that 30 million. Sanjay shared 3 goals that you're trying to achieve, and I'd like to hear actually from you what are the goals that you want to get out of this? What are the business goals that you'd like to achieve from this engagement?
I can maybe start. So yeah, I'm sure you're aware the telco business is challenged. Like we're in an EBITDA decline year over year. So our goal, like number one goal within our organization, is to return wireless to stem the decline and return it to a positive growth scenario. So our organization is 125 years old. It's grown through acquisitions. It's not, and we built products. We built value chains and operational teams on products that we used to get 99% margin on. That's not the state of the nation today. So when we sold a PRI, as an example, we'd get $600 a month at 99% margin. The new world technology is SIP trunking. We sell that for maybe $500 at 40% margin. So the substitute technologies are half the margin, or half the revenue, a third the margin.
Yeah. So
we need to really streamline, our operational teams, and then B, we also need to streamline our customer experience. So we're going down this path with ServiceNow. We have 42 portals in TELUS that we present to our customers. We have a plan to get to 1. So I think we know where we're going on the ServiceNow path. I think we want to get out of this, 2 things. One of them is what's next. What's the future look like? I think I sent Sanjay a quote, like a Steve Jobs quote. It's like something along the lines that we want to figure out what our customers want before they know they want it. So I think we want to. That's what we want to do with this engagement.
Great.
And then the second one is just to validate kind of the experience we've created as well. Like, are we doing the right thing for our customers and our team? And then at the heart of that is it is a $30 million challenge, right? That we've been asked by our organization to find anywhere between $30 and $50 million of operating savings over the next 2 years.
Right.
Now,
Let me just say, the last sort of few sentences, if we're clever, could all be part of the same thing.
Yes.
42 portals to 1 portal sounds more efficient. Mapping out the future that's appealing to people that they can get to through that 1 portal, and doing it in a way that is offering them things that they don't know they want yet is going to be efficient as well. They seem like the same story in many ways. Right.
So I think also this has a huge overlap with one of the points you made, which is about customer experience. Are there any metrics in addition to what you shared around customer experience as goals, or at least as benchmark that you can share with us?
We can. So we track we track a number of stats on like incident resolution, SEV1 times, SLA violations. We track likelihood to recommend, so customer sat. So we can pull all that together and share
Okay,
that.
that'd be good. And yeah, any analytics, if you have access to analytics or any documentation, I think that'd be really good for us to dive into, understand it. What we want to do with that is then, turn it around and create hypotheses around it, and then, shake that tree together with you, but then once we come up with certain ideas and solutions, validate them. Do you see any risks for this engagement? And if you do, what risks do you see?
I don't think so. Like, I've talked to my boss about it. He's very excited. Actually, he wanted to come in 2 weeks. But he just couldn't make it work. So we have this compelling event where the president of our business unit has kind of said, I need you to solve this $30 to $50 million problem. So now we have like a good burning platform, and everybody's aligned. So we've been running around doing a lot of change management on ServiceNow. People are very excited to get to become part of the ServiceNow journey. And as we start to roll it out, I don't think there's going to be pushback. And then even interviewing our customers, that's if that's where we're going to do, then we can get some customers that like us today, and then we can have some customers that are pay us today because they have to, but maybe they don't love us.
Oh, hey, that's very helpful. You're preempting some of our questions here. Excellent.
And how is the project? I mean, it's great. There's a buy-in, but just curious, how is the project currently framed within TELUS?
So we've got alignment now across all the different product teams. So you can imagine, big organization. We have a number of different product marketing teams.
Mm-hmm.
We now have alignment that everything we do new is going to be built on from an A2 perspective on ServiceNow.
Mm-hmm.
So people are, and then we've also had another VP underpin the execution of his whole strategy to do some cool things in the enterprise space on ServiceNow. So people are very bought into what we're doing and how we're doing it. And then, we're not, so the historical way we run projects at TELUS is we run around and we ask people what the requirements are. And then we take those requirements and we customize the tool, and then we break it. We're actually taking a complete polar opposite approach. Is we've hired experts, we've configured and built the tool, and then we're training people on how to use the new tool in a new and standard way. So now that we're actually getting them to adopt, like they want ServiceNow, but getting them to adopt the process that powers the tool is that's where we're running into a bit of headway. But we're kind of working through that.
Okay, and you would say this is framed within that. Okay.
I just want a corollary there. I think Anton's just touched on. I think you've always answered it. We're not like to encounter any kind of resistance or reluctance already to take
surprises.
Part. Everyone's pretty keen, you think?
Yeah, everybody. Yeah,
Good.
I would say 90% are pretty keen, and then there's 10%. We call them Quebec, who are.
Very good.
That's a code word.
The US.
That's a code word, please.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well,
Is
I
it?
don't know if you know Canada or not. The US has Texas, we have Quebec.
Right.
But the Quebec is a province in Canada. They were a separate business unit because the language they speak French first.
Yeah.
So they built their own homegrown tool. Good for them. But then we're coming along to displace it. Like, we basically called their baby ugly. So they're saying they're aligned, but the proof's in the pudding when we actually start to displace that tool later this year and into next year.
Yeah. That's great.
Cool.
Our word for Quebec here is France, actually. So we're good.
France. Yeah. Well, that's hilarious.
Right. So, mentioning the workshop, what are your expectations for the workshop in June? Or, well, in a couple of weeks, in 2 weeks?
So you make us awesome.
Okay. More than one way to do that.
I think it's really to get a better understanding, to provide you a better understanding of our organization, for us to understand how this engagement works, what are the outcomes we all expect, and then work through a number of scenarios.
Great.
So
And
Is it worth saying one of the purposes of this call, Mike, is we got some time beforehand, and we love to make it as meaningful as possible by prepping as much as possible. So something as simple as that, the organisational structure. Is there some material you could send to us to absorb beforehand, so that we're, refining our knowledge rather than starting from zero on that very thing,
for sure.
the structure?
So if you want to just send out, I'm driving, unfortunately. They don't like me taking notes, but if you just can send a list of things that you want, like org structure, metrics, KPIs, we can send that. We can package that up and send it over.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Another request is can we have access to people? So, essentially, number one, stakeholders, people within your organization or people who you think will be relevant for the project, that we can speak with them and then interview them.
Yep, you just tell me what type of stakeholders you're looking for, and then I will introduce
I'll
you.
put it in writing. I'll be descriptive about it, but obviously don't know the organization good enough to specify what person needs to be. So you'll have liberty to see who's relevant and who can provide good input. But I'll describe what type of people we want.
Do you want to try and do that before we meet, or
yes,
straight after?
We'd like to do that, to be honest, as soon as possible. So we'll send something today, and if we can schedule, this will be half an hour to 40 minutes phone conversation. So if we can do that ASAP, even this week, that'd be amazing.
And maybe we'll just give him a flavour of the questions, right?
Yeah, once we have the questions, we can share with you.
So Mark and Anton, I just want to step in a second here. So, this we've got a small knit community who understand what's going on in terms of this Envision phase, right? We're just kicking it off and trying to hit some critical agendas that are, mandated by Mike's boss and Mike's boss's boss. I think that the global mindset of our ambitions might not be known from all parties, right? So what I'd like to do is basically give Mike the opportunity to kind of understand and give him a framework of where we're going with these questions that make the project seem some level of intelligence, right? I think that would be helpful for Mike. Otherwise, us bombarding his people without potentially them even having any context. I want to just make sure that we frame it according to a context that Mike's setting.
So that's precisely what we're going to send. We're going to send to Mike a description of what type of profiles and for what reason we'd like to interview. And then following that, as soon as we create questions, we'll show those questions with Mike as FYI. In fact, one of the first interviews would be good to have with you, Mike. So if you can give us a slot earliest possible, that's probably the best way to understand what type of questions we're going to be asking.
Okay, yeah, that's perfect.
Cool.
And I can introduce, I can soft introduce if we're looking for time with some VPs and getting them in a 2-week. It's going to take a bit of work to get some VPs time on their calendar.
Yeah, I'd say let's refine our pitch before we hit the VPs, right? I think let's trial a few before we hit the VPs.
Okay, that works. Yeah, I don't mind you experimenting with my boss. He's pretty open.
Cool. Well, maybe we can start with you and your boss, and maybe actually people on the call here will be good.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Good. Now, we understand you're working in different sectors. We also understand that where some of the strategy and in terms of services and product comes from. Are there? How does your offer differ from sector to sector? In short,
for example.
We don't really do verticalized practices that well. We don't really have an offer for finance versus retail or whatnot. We normally have standard offers that meet broad market demand. We have an offer called MPaaS as an example, which is managed premise as a service. It's really targeted at the mid market. Those with 250 employees. 250 employees is probably the sweet spot. So we would target different segments like that. So we have a consumer team that's within a different organization, not in scope for this. We have small biz, then we have mid-market, enterprise, and custom.
Okay. And are there any specific areas where that's across sector and cross package? Any way that you are segmenting the market where you would like us to focus, considering the size of the market itself?
I think mid-market is a huge focus for us right now. There's a million mid-market customers in Ontario alone, one province.
Mm-hmm.
It's really an untapped space, and it's very fragmented with who we compete against.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of small mom and pop shops that we compete against. So, huge focus on mid-market for us right now, and then creating bundles and solutions, and then and packaging those. And some of those package offers include managed service now as well.
Okay. And so what we understood, and so please validate this, we understood that there are specific offers to health and, I believe, oil and gas. Is that correct, or is that wrong?
Health is a different business unit altogether.
So how is
And
that?
we're not, health would not be in scope right now.
Okay. And how is that fitting the your sales strategy in a sense? Because based on what you described us earlier, that is based on the size, the standard offer based on the size rather than the vertical. These units, the health unit,
Correct.
how is that related to the?
So what we do in health we would offer a technology play, like we would manage the technology for health, like hospitals, like their land, wireless, their UC, we provide them secure solutions. That would be TELUS Health. That's a totally separate business unit.
Okay.
And what we're doing in that business is they're on a separate floor. They're all locked up because of the privacy concerns. So
Okay.
yeah.
So we can ignore that. So, but we can, for the purpose of this of this exercise, we can ignore health and any of the verticals in that sense. Is that correct?
Yeah, and for the most part, yeah, we do have like we have one specific play for oil and gas. We call it Camp in a Box, but
Okay.
it's just a fancy word for we're going to provide you internet, phone, and it's internet and phone. That's about it. So
Right. So these are
because they literally live in shipping containers.
So are these standardized services that are slightly reframed for specific verticals, or there's more to that than this?
I think that's about it.
All right. Okay. Cool.
We just package it.
So just positioning, really, rather than actually.
Yeah,
But
changing the service.
that sort of suggests there's not some great insight and intelligence that we're missing from that. You kind of know about it and you can speak about it, but it's quite straightforward with the offering.
Yeah, it's like we just brand it to the market. So
Okay.
we even have something called Store in a Box for some retail offers,
Right.
but it's just a standard offer with a different name.
Okay.
Right.
Cool.
I got it. We see the inner box theme here. I like it.
I know, we love it. It's like, okay, yeah.
Mike, Anton's question was really, really important to me. I mean, I'm thinking he's kind of hitting the nail on the head from my perspective is when we're looking at cross-vertical, are we looking at products that cross-verticals that drive the singular message towards the mandate we're trying to achieve, i.e. cost efficiencies, process efficiencies, and innovation towards a service-oriented telco? Are we looking at, we say, okay, don't touch healthcare, but are we actually saying that a product and our messaging needs to be cross-vertical?
It does. It needs to resonate with the masses.
Talking of the masses, would you be able to provide us with access to end users, to our customers? A big part of what we do is, on one hand, hypothesizing and creating these ideas, having ideas about what the future is like. On the other hand, actually validating and making sure that is, it can hit the ground. It's not just a blue sky idea, but it's actually based in reality. Could you provide us with access to those end customers?
Yeah, I can find a couple for like so I can find. I'll get with my peers and
Yeah.
I have direct interactions with a few, and then I'll find you some. I guess we're looking for. Are you looking for a cross segment of
Yeah.
enterprise and mid market?
Well, I think if our focus is going to be mid market, I think that's probably where we'll focus. But again, this will going to depend on where we take the conversation. So once we have the interviews with you and some of your colleagues, we'll have a better idea of where the focus ought to be, and then we'll probably proposition about who will be best to talk with.
Right. But I'm just saying, it was great what you said earlier, right? You provide us with some people that like us today and some people that pay us but don't love us. That was what you said, right?
Yeah.
That was good. Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, some people are just in long term contracts and they can't get out, or we're the only game in town and they have to pay us, but not because they want to.
So Mike, this is another Anton Zinger, right? It's about blue sky, right? And when we're looking at this exercise and why I engage the Nest team is to be able to say separate ourselves from ServiceNow. Separate ourselves from the platform that can deliver the ask, right? And focus on what's blow your mind future state to how do we get to a reasonable level of service offerings in the next 18 months that we can execute a plan towards, right? But that blue sky mentality, I'm hoping that there's an expectation of you that we bring to the table some real out of the box thinking, not limited by the ServiceNow platform, but just focus on that telco as a future. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think we're in a pretty challenging state in our business. So like doing what we've always done is not going to allow us to win the future. So we really got to do something completely new and different.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth saying there, we've already started a bit of research on the future of telco, right? And we've got some stuff from Korea and Germany. So we are going to present that to you in the right context of, we started mapping that out already.
What are the biggest challenges you're facing when it comes to innovation?
When we're facing with the innovation, we big org, big politics.
Right. Okay.
Right, like even to launch ServiceNow, we actually it was a skunkworks project I started off the side of my desk with one of my marketing peers.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody gave us any approvals or funding, and then we kind of forced the org to do it. So, we have a lot of empires at TELUS, and you can imagine like we're launching. I'm in the business,
maybe we'll speak
so
before the 2 weeks.
You can imagine like our development team is going like, what are you guys doing? Like we have Remedy, just love that. So there's a lot of kind of politics and territory in our org that's sometimes challenging to navigate. And then a second challenge is I'd say I guess funding in two ways. One of them is we've gone through a number of operational efficiency programs where we reduced our staff, but we haven't solved the underlying process issues and made them more efficient. So we just basically said, you frontline team member, you process 10 widgets today, and I just need you to work harder and get 15 through the machine. So that's a problem. And then the way we do capital, we allocate capital is very waterfall, and it's very political as well.
Right, and
so for me to get funding,
waterfall usually happens over quite a long period as well. Sorry.
Yeah, that's I was going to say. For us to get ServiceNow funding, I have to get approval from the guy that runs the Remedy platform.
Right.
Was easier than getting it from Quebec.
Yeah, he's from he's from BC, but. The only good thing about him is, when we started this, he was very opposed because, he's got Remedy and that's his baby. But now he's kind of getting closer to retirement. He's probably 2 years away or less. And so he's somewhat given up a little bit. So with that.
We'll never meet him, but that's the best thing about him. We like that synopsis.
Has TELUS been the only place you ever worked at?
I wore him down.
A serious question though. Would you say that breaking the silos and getting, getting a buy-in is a part of one of the goals of the engagement also?
I think we have buy-in with the people that we need to.
Okay.
So the president of our organization is saying, yeah, this is the way to go. My boss is, we've got a number of other VPs saying, yeah, this is the way we got to go, including the marketing folks. So, these people are all approving our funding. And then they've also approved moving my boss's operational teams to ServiceNow. We've kicked that project off. So we've kicked off a project to move, 500 operational team members to the ServiceNow platform. So I think we're from a buy-in perspective. Now we just got to execute and show them that it was the right decision to make.
Cool. And have you had similar programs in the past about innovation, about addressing some of the issues like this?
Yeah.
What happened?
We ran a program seven years ago. We called it EDE, end to end, and we actually tried to migrate all the business services to Remedy. We wrote off $35 million. That's what happened.
Right.
So why that didn't work?
That's the saving. That's the saving we've got to make back to pay for it.
So that's part of the challenge we had is, we come along and say we're going to do the ServiceNow thing, and they go, well, wait a second, we've done that. It was called EDE, and we lost $35 million. Thanks.
So why that happened? What was the reason behind that?
What's that? Sorry.
What was the reason? Why that project didn't succeed?
Number of reasons. One of them is we went into the business and said, how do you work today? And then they try to make the current way they work, make the tool work that way. So they customized the tool to the point where it was actually unusable. We couldn't execute an upgrade. The onboarding process to onboard one customer took 90 days.
Wow.
There was no strong executive sponsor and leadership. Like a lot of cooks. We actually hired Ericsson to do. I wasn't involved in that project. I should say. Chris and I got involved at the end. In the best we could do is take the onboarding process from 90 days to 21. We were pretty happy about that, but that's still shitty.
Right.
So we hired Ericsson to do a lessons learned on that. So we, part of what we do in the ServiceNow thing is every time somebody asks us to do something dumb, we just say, hey, well, wait a second, that we're following the Ericsson recommendation. That contradicts that. So we kind of use it as a leverage point. But yeah, we hired Ericsson to do a full review on that program, given the amount of money we lost.
Right. I think it's good that
I can share that.
That would be useful. Also, it's good that you represent that internal company pain. There's a good bellwether here about if we're doing anything that you'll react to, which is good. We don't want to go down that route, of course.
No. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I covered.
Yeah, and we kind of silently just go. Yeah, we don't. Okay.
Sorry? Mike, you there?
Oh, sorry, you can go ahead.
No, I was...
yeah, I'm here.
Okay. There's a bit of a delay, I think. You were saying something and I think I interrupted. Do you want to finish that?
I didn't catch that. Can you say that?
No, I think we were done. Ericsson, if you send that, that's great, and you've got those lessons in your pocket. That's it. That was the end of that topic, I think.
Okay, good. Yeah. Just in short, what we plan to do now is I think we covered most of our questions. Actually, I think I covered my ground. There is more questions, but those questions we want to have one-on-one. So we'll create a quick plan here and then send an invite to you and the folks that have been part of this call to have one-on-one interviews in hopefully next couple of days, depending on your schedules. You will send you some expectations around those, but you'll see that through the interviews what it's about. It's really trying to understand the customer base, trying to understand stepping a bit more into the business and in the business problems, and we want to drive this. Secondly, we're going to send you a list of things that you may be able to send us, like analytics, organizational structure, and
The Ericsson report.
Ericsson report,
Yeah.
and anything like that. So we're sending that list, and I think we are ready for the next stage, which is essentially talking to you one-on-one. The whole point of this is to start doing a bit more research and get ready for when you're here. And I think before you come over in 2 weeks, we'll confirm the agenda so that you have expectations around what to expect when you come here.
Yeah.
What we're going to conduct and what we expect to be the results of that.
It's great that we're talking to you already, and if we do that interview and then maybe have another one of these calls in a week or 8 days' time, we'll have that agenda fleshed out so you'll know how we're working and what we're trying to achieve in the agenda before you come. So
Yes.
that'll be the best way to do it. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's perfect. Guys, thank you very much. I appreciate it. This was a great first half hour, and looking forward to a lot of intelligence gathering. There's a lot of thinking out aloud and getting down to what we need to do for TELUS.
Okay. We'll send
All right.
stuff. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thank
Bye.
you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Thanks.